let's start the next session, and I'm going to invite up Mr. Zulfikar Hamadani, who is the CEO of Tanmia Food Company, one of the sponsors of Agri, and I'm hoping he's with us, and invite him. Oh, here he is. Thank you. To ask you, Mr. Hamadani, to be close to the microphone when you respond.
Okay.
So that all the folks, we've got over 500 people watching at the moment, plus all these lovely people in the audience. So we want to keep it, the sound great.
Okay.
First of all, could you just tell us a bit about yourself and the company, just to familiarize people who don't know it?
So I joined Tanmia Food Company back in 2008. Basically, I'm an accountant. I joined as CFO back then. At that time, it was more a company which was focused on further processing than primary processing. It was kind of struggling. Since then, we have been able to bring together a great team, which had not only turned around the business, but since the announcement of Vision 2030, which envisaged this self-sufficiency in poultry production, we have been one of the forerunners, and we got all that tailwind from the government support. And the company has grown phenomenally since then. I mean, the last 10 years, we have grown 10 times in terms of volumes we are producing, with a very unique model the company has. So we don't own most of our assets. We lease them. We partner long-term basis with the local individuals or companies, and we lease their assets and make them the centers of excellence. Our farming performance is among the best in the world, not only in the region. Our quality assurance and accreditations are also very unique in the sense that in many cases we are the only ones in the region who are approved by the biggest fast food companies and the best British Retail Consortium or Animal Welfare. So our entire value chain is approved or accredited. We are the only company in the region which are producing burgers, nuggets for fast food companies from Saudi local grown chicken. We are not importing it. We also recently launched omega-3 enriched chicken, which is based on algal oil, not fish oil. So we are also a very innovative company. We were listed among the 10 most innovative companies by Forbes for last year. We have been winning the Product of the Year award for the last 3 successive years now, yes. And we have grown through partnerships. We are partners with Tyson Foods of US, with MHP of Europe. We are also the only, not only, but one of the very few farm-to-fork companies in literal sense. From our breeder farms to our restaurant Popeyes, which uses 100% of our product. So this is a full value chain that we have created, and we don't intend to stop here. We intend to be global leaders in halal protein by 2030, inshallah.
That is amazing. So
that is the target,
yeah. I mean, global leaders in halal is a big ask by the shareholders, isn't it?
It is a big ask. I think it was slightly other way around, that we, the management, thought that it's possible, and the shareholders had to, we kind of advocated the case, and they agreed, and now we have their full support. We have a very ambitious and supportive board, and of course, and there's a lot of support from the government, the different initiatives the government has. We are partners with Shareek program as well. So it's, I think, for a Saudi company for taking, the opportunities there. A global halal brand, which is anchored in Saudi Arabia, will be universally accepted as halal around the world, and that's the target, to offer a very good quality protein which is 100% halal to the rest of the world. So Muslims consume it because it's halal, non-Muslims consume it because it's a great product.
Well, I bought the Tanmia chicken before myself, so it's tasty, it's flavoursome.
You made a very wise decision.
Yeah, I'm one of your customers.
Very good to know that, thank you.
But the philosophy behind this, leasing assets, going for quality, what was the logic behind this? There must have been some challenges that you had to overcome with this new philosophy. Explain that to us.
So, chicken is not native to Saudi Arabia. I mean, the climate here is not traditionally conducive for poultry production. So, the first task that we had was to build a team, then devise or formulate our own SOPs, not to copy paste, because nowhere in the world chicken is grown in desert like in Arizona or New Mexico. In US, they don't grow chicken there. So we had to formulate our own SOPs. So that was the first challenge we had. And since then, we have been able to replicate our team and implement those SOPs in the new farms very successfully. Our operating model, which has scattered farms, not in one location, also is very helpful. Quality is something which you have to create the culture. And the culture is simply that quality assurance steps do not have a direct ROI. You don't measure it in dollars. It's that trust you build with the customers. So that we have been able to build. And as I mentioned, that we have, the only thing Tanmia, I think I as a leader have done is that I've got a great team. I've built a good team. And since then, it has been almost easy.
So when we go back to the farm to fork idea, let's look at the farm. Let's focus on the farm. How do you assure the quality at the farm? I mean, do you embed your staff in there, or how's that all measured so that the consumer knows that when it gets to the fork, it's what they want?
So yes, our own team runs the farms. There are a few things that we have done at the farm level. First of all, continuous training. That is very important for us. And training with accountability, so the results are actually measured after every cycle. Incentive schemes. So the good performers are incentivized very lucratively. Our incentive scheme for farmers may be the best, I think, in the region. That has really helped. Then inspections by quality assurance team is another thing. And the last thing I think which has really helped, and I feel that it is very important, is that we have given a career path to the farm staff. They are by design in the middle of the desert. We want them to be as far away from the inhabited areas as possible because of biosecurity. So you don't want people to spend the rest of life there because that's not very motivating. So they have that motivation that they will get promoted and they will have a very clear career path if they perform. And we have many examples where people have, in fact, in one case, one of our farm supervisors is now CEO of one of our companies. So and he's not the only one. There are many such stories. So that really keeps them involved and keeps them committed.
So it must be quite difficult to attract talent in the initial phases to go out to a rural place and be there with their family or alone as a single?
Without the family, that is a must. So because biosecurity is important, we do not let anybody in or out of the farm while the birds are there. So that is extremely important. So yes, attracting talent is challenging. Retaining talent was challenging in the beginning. But now, alhamdulillah, Tanmia has got itself a reputation of not only being a company which promises a good career or a good remuneration, but also good training. And it is becoming more of an academy for our team. So we are quite proud of that.
And I think also you need to be proud of Tammir representing the kingdom at the Saudi village in Rome for the 90th anniversary of diplomatic relations. Tell us a bit about that story and that experience, because you would have been there, obviously.
Yeah, I was there, and it was a very proud moment for us that we were the only poultry company which was invited by the association to represent Saudi Arabia there. The reason why it was interesting for us is, as I mentioned, that we want to be a global leader in halal protein, and Europe is. market where we would like to be, where we have a very big Muslim population residing there or in the form of tourists or students. So it was a good opportunity to be there as part of the delegation and meet with the potential customers, partners, suppliers, see the market for ourselves. So it was a great experience, and I think it helped our strategy and the details of its strategy execution a lot.
So I'm going to just turn this back to the food security and your contribution to that. So we know that recently, I think it's 71%, the kingdom is self-sufficient in this $5 billion industry.
Yeah.
What are your plans at your company to take that to the next level, to the 100%, to the point of going over 100% and exporting to other halal consumers?
Indeed. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, that we have grown 10 times in volumes in the last 10 years. And we don't want to stop here. Our aim is to be, if we want to be global leaders, we definitely have to be regional leaders first. So we will continue to grow. Our first phase of expansion is almost complete. And the work is already starting on phase 2 of expansion, which is building or acquisition of assets in the kingdom. And I think one of the contributions that I'm very proud of Tanmia is the availability of chicken for further processing, because that was one frontier which I had always got the impression that people thought that we would have to continue importing this chicken because it's a much bigger bird with a lot of strings attached to that. But we first experimented, and now, as I mentioned, we have the biggest fast food international chains who are our customers, and we simply can't produce enough of those. So we are working to have that. And it's a privilege to be part of this food security initiative, and I think the steps the government has taken have really supported this industry, which had a fair share of skepticism from international players, by the way. Why are you doing this? But now they understand, and now we see a lot of foreign investment coming in the country as well.
So in terms of exporting processed poultry for fast food, is there a big demand for the halal market in Europe and in Malaysia and places like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you'd be surprised that how many tens or maybe hundreds of authorities are there in the world to certify halal. And it's not necessary that if I'm certified by authority A, I'm also deemed certified by authority B. But we have done studies with our partners, and what has come out is that there is a resounding endorsement globally that if there's something which is following Saudi standards of halalness, it is halal. So that universal acceptance, I think, is there for us to capitalize on. There is a huge market, regionally also, internationally. I mean, I'm not talking about only the non-Muslim countries or the countries where there's a Muslim minority. Even in Muslim majority countries, there is a huge market where we can send not only our raw material, but also finished products like ready-to-eat meals. And work is afoot as we speak.
So are you preparing ready meals now, or is that something that you might do in the future, halal ready meals?
We are producing some. We have just started, so to say. We are starting with the local market as we are seeing more and more women are joining the workforce. We are trying to produce not the burgers, nuggets, and sausages, but local cuisine. Ready-to-eat meal which they can take home on their way back to office, from office, and prepare a meal for their family. So we have a very elaborate and very talented R&D and new product development department, and they are working on that, and there are few SKUs which have been launched already, but we'll see much more in coming months, not years.
So I'm just going to end this off with one of my questions. It's not on the sheet. I hope you don't mind.
Absolutely not.
So how do you see the future of the poultry market in the next 5 years in Saudi Arabia? We've got the target, we've got the self-sufficiency target, but what about the technology and what about, the quality and things like that? Where's it going?
So the market is booming. There is a local market. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, during summers, for example, the market would just vanish. Everybody would be traveling outside the country. Now we see a lot of domestic tourism. So the markets within the country, so instead of Riyadh, you start selling to Abha maybe. So we see that stability in the market. We see a lot of tourists there as well. And now the food service, the traditional food service, who was always married to the idea of less expensive chicken coming from Brazil or wherever, now they see the value in locally produced chicken. So the market is growing with the more tourists coming in and the local population growing. Export is something which I'm very excited about, because a Saudi brand getting exported in high quality products, I think that is going to be a huge, huge thing for the entire industry.
So the future is bright for the poultry industry.
It is super bright, but we need a lot of work, but it is very bright.
Excellent. Thank you very much
Thank
for joining us today. And please give Mr. Zulfikar a big round of applause.
Thank you very much.
And it's photographed. Thank you very much for that excellent session. And we're moving to the last session of the day. Unfortunately, Nermian could not join us, but we are very lucky to have Mrs. Heba here. Please come up to the stage and take a seat next to your name. Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you for having me today. The presentation focused on the food trends and food packaging and processing in New Zealand. And moving forward to the first presentation slide. New Zealand food sector has a promising future with an export value of 42.3 billion, representing 62.8% of the country's total export goods. The sector plays a significant role in the economy and is being driven by innovation, technology, and meeting consumer needs. New Zealand's commitment to sustainability is expected to shape the sector's future trajectory. New Zealand is a highly efficient exporter of primary food products. We mostly produce sought after commodity products such as dairy, red meat, fruit. They are sold to other countries, but we also produce a complement of consumer-focused products such as beverages and snacks. Traditionally, core needs have centered on personal safety and satisfaction. In recent years, external concerns such as sustainability have become core. By 2050, human welfare as well as food sovereignty also may become core needs. Global trend indicates more demand for localized production, connecting food, health, technological change, ongoing concern about safety and security, environmental disruption, shifts in economic power, and changing consumer-supplier relationships. In terms of the food sector in New Zealand, New Zealand food sector has, one second. In terms of the processing trends in the sector, research indicates that consumers are deeply concerned about sustainability. This has not yet influenced in their food purchasing behavior at supermarket. Instead, consumers expect retailers and government bodies to lead the way in implementing sustainable practice in food production. The trend is driven by some factors: health and wellness. Consumers are searching for ways to enhance overall health, reduce stress, and improve their appearance. Also, environmental factor. Consumers perceive environmental issues as the most significant to the planet in the next decade. Sustainability also is increasingly common for consumers to actively seek out products for companies that use sustainable technologies, as well as food safety. There is an emphasis on food safety post-COVID-19. Consumers now are attracted toward natural food due to safety and nutritional consideration. I'm using here two examples, one from Fonterra, the dairy sector in New Zealand. It is the largest dairy producer in New Zealand. And one of their practices that they are having 100%, their farms actually, they have to have environmental plans. Also, zero deforestation commitment to across primary deforestation linked to commodities by December 2025, in line with the science-based target initiatives. Also, in Fonterra, there is a commitment 40% reduction in the number of sites that use coal by 2024. Also, one of their main elements in the company supporting farmers to respond to New Zealand government policies to reduce agriculture emission. Another example, and a visitor also of the Saudi Agriculture Show, is in Vico. They are using an AI technology. The company started in a garage in Auckland and became a global leader in aerial drone painting for conservation. Their innovation drone technology successfully eradicated invasive rat species in the Galapagos, gaining recognition and support from figures like Leonardo DiCaprio. They now provide solutions for pest eradication, wildlife defense, and native fauna regeneration guided by the Maori value. Their ultimate goal is to create safe environment for New Zealand iconic kiwi bird. Moving forward, for food packaging, I'm trying to choose here different companies to show how New Zealand are using innovative solution for in the packaging. So in today's fast-paced world, almost 50% of consumers are willing to pay for time-saving solution. As people have less time, they will seek a quick, convenient food options, leading to innovation in packaging and nutrition for easier consumption. As an example of that, I'm using from Fresh Produce, a Rocket Apple brand. They are available in different Saudi supermarkets. Rocket Apple, as you see them in that tube, the apples are washed, packed directly into handy tube. Other than convenient, Rocket Apple innovative tubes keep the apples cleaner, safer, and fresher for longer. The packaging of the tube are 100% recyclable. Rocket Apple is working on a cardboard packaging that is fully biodegradable to introduce in all markets. Another example from the red meat industry, Silver Fern Farm. They are New Zealand red meat in general, they are widely known for its quality and exceptional taste. One strategy farmers employ to prolong its shelf life is vacuum packaging, which effectively preserves the meat for extended duration and keeps it fresh. Last example is from the honey industry. I'm here using Manuka Ora jar. You can see the QR on the outside of the jar, and this QR code on Manuka honey packaging designed to provide comprehensive information ranging from honey origin to the potency of Manuka honey product. It also offers visibility into responsible beekeeper. With the increase in counterfeit honey in market, it is important to differentiate genuine honey from fake ones. Moving forward to the trend in the supply chain and development. New Zealand's strict food safety and biosecurity measures have earned its global reputation as a trusted supplier for quality product and ingredient to many of the world's major food and beverage companies. Food safety and product traceability are essential and driven by regulation that is evidence-based and designed with business need in mind. The Ministry of Primary Industry in New Zealand used the B2BE platform to improve its traceability and compliance process. The platform provides real-time visibility into the supply chain and helped the MPI identify and resolve issues very quickly, monitor the entire supply chain from farm to table, and track movement of a product through the supply chain. I'm here trying to show you some examples from the seafood industry. Some of our brand, Sanford, Sea Lord, Tally's, all of them, they are available in Saudi Arabia. And here I just want to say that the government with them, and actually the New Zealand law requires seafood operator to identify and track a product on at least one step forward, one step back basis. The New Zealand Seafood Standard Council and the Ministry of Primary Industry developed a code of practice for the processing of seafood products to help seafood businesses implement effective traceability system. One of the trends, and I also heard some of your guests talking about, is local sourcing products. This is also another trend in New Zealand. There are increasing number of New Zealand restaurants, both rural and urban, that are growing their own food to avoid supply chain issues and offer a fresh meal. Consumer in New Zealand think locally produced products are fresher and healthier. Therefore, some restaurants are focused on serving fresh, locally grown, produced food at its peak freshness, providing a unique and flavorful during dining experience for their customers. And last thing is the food or the trend in the food market in New Zealand. The current trend is in the food and beverage industry are centered around making products more convenient, nutritious and beneficial. There is a growing demand for organic, plant-based and functional food, as well as shift toward the cleaner label and minimal processing. As an example, I want to mention Ceres Organics. The brand offers a wide range for baking, cooking, snacking, breakfast, beverages, home care, and personal care. The brand also is available in Saudi supermarket, in Lulu hypermarket. Also convenient to ready-to-eat meals and snacks are tailored to suit busy lifestyle, offering balanced options without compromising time. Moana, which is a brand on the bottom side of the slide, they are the largest seafood producer, Maori company actually, owned by Maori businessmen. And they provide ready-to-eat meal in the market. Beverages as well, with the specific benefits. We are seeing a growing trend in that segment. People or consumer are looking for a product or drinks that give them benefits for both mind and body, gaining popularity, creating a health-conscious consumer. The No Ugly brand on the top side of the slide, they offer drinks with a higher purpose that are not only delicious, but also offer functional benefit to help people feel their best. Moreover, which is also a growing trend in New Zealand, is the focus on merging variety of cuisine into mainstream offerings and acknowledging the influence of immigration on food culture. New Zealand is famous for its amazing landscape, friendly locals, and cool culture. It is like a big mix of different culture because of the country's immigration policies. People from all over the world have come to New Zealand, bringing their own traditions, food, and ways of living. And I'm here trying to show you some of the example. Paradise Restaurant, it's a New Zealand restaurant owned by an Indian chef. And also proudly, the restaurant opened here in Riyadh 2 years ago, and they are expanding to Dammam and to Jeddah cities. Also, one of the restaurants that I would like to mention that is originally New Zealand, Burger Fuel. I'm sure some of you have tried their burgers and saw how it is delicious. Also located, we have some branches for the restaurants here in Riyadh. Thank you for having me. I hope this informative. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to draw the Future of Agriculture International Summit to a close. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I would invite you to share the hashtag @agri_EXT. That is the Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture's Twitter feed. You can catch up on all the footage and all the different sessions that you've heard over the last 4 days. And we would welcome you to join us next year in October in 2025. And we'll be doing the same thing again, but with even more exciting information and speakers. Thank you very much.
Distinguished personalities, ladies and gentlemen, today is the fourth and last day of the Future of Agriculture International Summit. And once again, I extend a warm welcome to all of those gathered here today, including our esteemed speakers. Dear attendees, after a high-level scientific debate on fertilizer yesterday, the program is offering to explore the new trends in manure and compost. In the effort to increase food production in the world, fertilizer are massively used, sometimes with aggressively effects. But when we speak about sustainable farming solution enhancing food production, manures and compost are listed as efficient solutions. An interesting keynote address will be delivered on the new technologies for manure treatment and produce compost in an efficient way by Mr. Janjab van der Mark. Mr. Janjab is a Global Director Environmental Solution at Big Dutchman International. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome on the stage Mr. Janjab van der Mark.
Thank you, Amjad, for presenting me and giving the introduction today. As you mentioned, I've been invited to give some perspective on possibilities and opportunities to clean the environment. And since Big Dutchman is one of the large companies worldwide producing and providing livestock plants, we basically also look and strive to clean up the world a little bit more. And this is even more important nowadays with ESG reporting coming up. So we are putting a lot of effort in finding ways and finding solutions with good business models and in economical ways to help our livestock farmers cope with the challenges of waste streams and trying to do the right thing with that. So let me start off with, let's say, the green one. Yeah. We as a company try to take action for future generations. It's not about us anymore, it's about the children and the future generation that come after. And we have to do our best to clean the world. So this comes also in line with the Saudi Green Initiative, and I just picked out a few major topics with the plans of Saudi to reduce the carbon footprint emissions by 2030. That's massive. Next to that, there are plans to plant trees throughout Saudi, and also protecting the land and the sea by 2030. Well, that's a major challenge for the country, and you know, this ties up with what we are trying to do. We provide systems to our livestock farmers, but at the same time, they produce waste which we can really use well to comply to these missions or objectives. Plants need trees, crops need trees. Plants need compost, crops need compost. And at the same time, we can reduce the emissions. So in this way, we try to comply with the United Nations Sustainable SDGs. And if you see a farm here, a livestock farm, a layer farm, for example, we try to move the waste streams covered, create biosecurity, process it in line, drying it, composting it, capturing it in warehouses, bagging it, pelletizing it, and bring it to the arable lands. And this we can do everywhere. But the conditions are completely different from region to country. And speaking of Saudi, it's very dry, there's insufficient water available, but still the soil requires nutrients and organic matter. Organic matter especially, which is in compost, because it retains water. It has a water binding capability that is enormous, and this way you can retain the water much longer in the soil and provide it to the plants. Otherwise it just evaporates. So everybody knows the challenges that go hand in hand with waste stream handling. You have one advantage here, that the climate is in that sense helping you out because you have sun, so it dries quickly. And at the moment in Saudi, a lot of the livestock waste goes to the desert or is being dumped somewhere, which is unfortunate because we should use that stuff and turn it into something good and take the emission out at the same time. And you need it here in Saudi. So handling issues, storage, handling, smell, pathogens, diseases that come out, nutrients that run off into the land, greenhouse gases. And what we will see, and which is inevitable, is regulations coming up. People will have to comply with regulations coming up, expanding farms. It's coming. So these are a few pictures of the long-term effects of intensive agriculture worldwide. I mean, we're overloading the agricultural lands with chemical fertilizers, with pesticides, and we are feeding ourselves and our future generations with this. Yes, we need chemical fertilizers to produce food efficiently, but I think we should look for the balance and to have a right balance between organic and chemicals. And that part is still missing, and I think there's a great opportunity for countries, for livestock farmers to do something about this. But we need to scale up. We need to create a supply chain so that there's supply and demand. And this is still very embryonic, unfortunately, but the opportunities are there. We should move away from this. Climate is not helping either. It only makes it worse. So we should stop seeing waste from farms or manure as a waste. It is a resource. It contains energy, it has fertilizer capabilities, and it has a lot of nutrients and protein that are very useful to use in the environment and agricultural land. Here I make also a remark of mixing and balancing the both. Mineral fertilizers as well as organic. We both need them. But I think we should strive to use a little bit less of the mineral ones and have a right proportion so that we don't overflow the lands with only NPKs. This is what we want eventually, organic produced crops worldwide. But that's of course a challenge to succeed. The organic fertilizer market is growing. I think if governments put their head around it and you create supply chains and supply and demand, this growth will accelerate tremendously. Everywhere, in every country, there's livestock farms, and we should use those assets from the livestock farm to bring to the arable lands and close the loop, basically making circular economies. But it means that we have to bring all the stakeholders together. So, problem statement here is that livestock farmers have an increasing waste problem, and we need to turn it into something good. They require technology, which costs money. So we need to come up with efficient and affordable solutions. And at the same time, we can clean the emissions. To get rid of the waste, it only works if we have a business model and that there's profits to be made, because otherwise nobody will invest. So sustainability, environment sustainability and business sustainability go hand in hand. Otherwise it doesn't work. A farmer alone can't make this happen, so that's why we need to create these circular economies. Government should help, but also the big potential buyers, and that's the big food AGs, because the food AGs, they do want the protein, but they do not want to pay for the waste. And eventually it's the consumer that has to pay. So how do we do that? And that's a good challenge. We came up with a solution. We actually started doing this before COVID in Asia. There was a huge demand of our customers to come up with a solution for their waste handling. And this went from Japan to Nepal, India, all the countries in between, Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific. So we really started to put a lot of effort in that, and we came up with rapid composting with emission reduction concept. And that means that at the same time you can dispose of your mortalities and waste in the farm, you can put it in the systems, you can produce a compost fertilizer, it's pathogens free, so you don't need to truck around manure, untreated manure, full of pathogens. That has an enormous potential impact also on the environment, because if you transport pathogens around, the risk of contamination into the biosphere and surrounding livestock farms is also immense, and that has a macro impact on the economy. Reduce the transportable volume, obviously, reduce cost and carbon footprint, and reduce the emissions at the same time. We can do all that. So what we want to create circular economy. Crops produce feed that are given to the poultry to produce protein. As a result, we get waste streams, and this waste we should turn into compost. The compost then is turned into an organic fertilizer, which we can put on the arable lands again. So you reduce your carbon footprint on the arable lands, you reduce the carbon footprint in the livestock farms, and you have a much healthier system. This we should do. And this, I think, is the only way how to deal and treat with waste from livestock farms. So here's an example of a livestock farm. And in the bottom you see an example for a flow of manure. Biosecure, covered, free from rain, which you don't have too much here in Saudi. But we can dry it. In Saudi we wouldn't need to dry it, so that's a cost saving there. And then we compost it and bring it into a warehouse where you can bag it, pack it, palletize it, and get rid of in a proper and clean way. Here's an example of compost towers. These are the systems that we basically pursued. It's in vessel. That means that the product that we put in is very consistent of quality. So there's not too much variation in the final product. And that's what the market and the buyers want. Because if it's too variable, the interest will be very low. So a consistent quality product. is required for that. And because we use these in-vessel systems, the exhaust air, the ammonia that is exposed by the bacterial operation in the composter, can be captured very efficiently, and therefore the cost to reduce the emission is much lower. It's a short processing time of composting process. So if you would compare with the traditional ways, you need about 30, 40 days in the open, which is inconsistent. And now using this technology, it's quite fast and consistent, what I mentioned. Small area footprint, so it can easily be added to your footprint in a livestock farm. It's modular, so you can grow with the expansion of the farm. These are a few examples of the compost that comes out. It can be automated via conveyors, but this is just to show how the product looks like when it gets out of the compost tower. In the past, you would see in Asia that all these warehouses would be full of untreated manure and very smelly. And if you keep it there, free from the rain, what happens is it will be anaerobic process. So your methane and nitrous oxide gases will get out. And in this case, compost is stable. It is already treated by the bacteria. It's a very stable product. There's hardly any emission coming out of it. And it's perfect for applying to the arable lands. It's free of pathogens and E. coli. Organic matter, very important, 60%. It's sometimes not even about the NPKs, it's about the organic matter, which is required for the soil. CN ratio of 10%, and the NPKs vary a bit between 3 to 4. Now, you can add mineral fertilizers to this to bring your NPKs to 10-10-10 or 15-15-15. And this can be a very interesting value proposition for some livestock farmers to pursue. You increase the value of this end product. Here's an example of pellets produced from the compost. Now, looking at the Saudi market of compost, I mean, there's the alfalfa. I know that has been always a challenge now because it uses a lot of water. And Saudi doesn't want to pursue getting the water out of the deep well, so this is a reducing activity. But there will still remain activity, and why don't we put more compost on these lands? Because it will retain the water. So your water efficiency increases way more. The dates plantations, the plans of the government to plant 10 billion trees the next decades. I don't think we can plant 10 billion trees just somewhere in the soil. You need revitalized soil with organic matter, with NPKs, so we can use all the livestock waste in Saudi to complement that. And at the same time, reduce the emissions, by the way. So what are the strategies of Saudi to cope with desertification? And I don't know if there's opportunities as well, if there's a good compost product produced, if it can be exported. That depends on each individual situation. Horticulture is another example. I see a lot of horticulture here, and I wonder, there must be a huge interest and market for compost soil, or good soil, where horticulture thrives in. You need that. So here comes ESG reporting. 2026, there will be compulsory ESG reporting worldwide. So there is a drive, a very strong drive, visible already, that people and companies need to reduce their carbon footprint and their emission. So we are looking at opportunities and possibilities to reduce the emission in the supply chain. And we are only one link, one piece of the puzzle, obviously. But it means we need credible solutions. They should be audible, and measurable, verifiable, and we should justify and validate these, because without that we cannot go in the direction of carbon credits, which would be an extra monetization option. This is important because we know that there have been major issues with greenhouse washing, so everybody's careful. So the only way to go is have clear boundaries, solutions, according to the data of the International Panel of Climate Change, supported by measurement and auditing and verification. That is the way to go. And we do the right thing. So for the emission reduction, we came up with a solution of scrubbing. We need to use acid, that can be sulfuric acid or citric acid. Citric acid is biological, sulfuric acid is more a mineral way to do it. Both are very efficient. But we can react the ammonia that comes out of the composting process, and we take away the emission for virtually 100%. It's 95%. The advantage is that you get a byproduct from this process, which you could consider as a biostimulant. And this biostimulant, so basically we capture the ammonia out of the exhaust air and we can bring it back into the supply chain. It doesn't go into the air and turn into methane and nitrous oxide eventually. So the carbon exchange market is predicted to grow to 350 billion nearly. It has always been voluntary, but I foresee that this will become a more compulsory exchange market because there will be more and more demand for credible carbon credits. So I would expect the price to go up. And there is a shortage of credible carbon credits. So this is very interesting because it could create an extra monetization opportunity for the livestock farmers to create a revenue stream for them and profits. And that helps also to invest in the technology to reduce the emissions. So that would be a win-win. Just to make it a little bit tangible, one concrete example, a compost tower with a scrubber would reduce something similar to 714 cars or 5,000 acres of land, which is quite considerable. These cars I mentioned here are probably European-based cars, so the V8 and V12 motor cars in Saudi would be a little bit less, I guess. For all this, as I mentioned before, auditing is required and measurement is required. So we need controls, we need to bring it into the cloud and measure and verify the data. So my question would also be to large players here in Saudi, would it be interesting to finance or step into financing predetermined product lines and help the livestock farmers to do something good with the waste and clean the emissions at the same time and monetize on carbon credits? Question mark. Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome you to the next session on the future of poultry, and you would notice that we have over 20% of our show floor is taken up by the poultry industry. So we know that Saudi Arabia is well on the way to self-sufficiency with poultry. So anything that you hear today is going to propel that self-sufficiency to 100% in the near future. But what I would like to do is just explain to you today that this is a presentation panel. We have 3 speakers, so if you'd like to come up to the stage and take your seats under your photograph next to your names, and then I will call you up individually to come up to the lectern and present your slideshows to our audience. I would also invite people in the audience, if you would like a more comfortable seat on a sofa, on a soft chair, please come forward. These chairs are not reserved. Please feel free to make yourself more comfortable at the front of the hall. Secondly, if you would like to translate from English into another language, please use the QR code They are all over the room. Could you put the QR code slide up, please? Thank you. If you want to try to translate into another language, we have 57 available. You can do that too. And lastly, we will be streaming all our sessions today live to the Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture's Twitter feed. So thousands of other people can watch it at home or later on. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And I would like to invite Professor Al-Sayed up to the lectern to please present. Thank you.
My name is Amr Said, the Professor of Animal Infectious Disease and Head of Research in Life Cycle Nutrition, Switzerland. And before exploring the future of natural alternatives in animal production, I would like to thank the organizing committee and you all for allowing me to stand here today with you. Nutraceuticals. What are nutraceuticals? Actually, nutraceuticals are plant-derived products which we can use for therapeutic or prophylactic purposes. Thank you. Currently, there is a growing trend worldwide to replace chemicals with natural products. Why? Actually, because of the growing legal restrictions worldwide against chemicals, but also concerns about public health hazards, growing antibiotic resistance, but also the demand of the customers to have safer food. Nutraceuticals have many advantages when compared with pharmaceuticals, with chemicals. The nutraceuticals are not new. It is thousands of years of experience in traditional medicine worldwide. If you have bacteria and antibiotic, give the antibiotic, the bacteria will die. No more, no less. But in nutraceuticals, in each plant, it contains thousands of secondary plant metabolites, flavonoids, essential oils, alkaloids. Every group from these groups had function, being anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, growth promoting, immune stimulant. And that's why you have more than only one target when you give it. They are safe for your bird, for the human consumer, but also for the environment. I selected actually today 2 examples to bring with me, one for broilers and one for layers. I selected a natural coccidiostat to compare it with synthetic ones, because recently there is some restrictions in Saudi Arabia against ionophores and the use of chemical coccidiostats. If you have one coccidiostat, it has only one mode of action. It works through affecting certain point in the life cycle of the protozoa, of the Eimeria. And if the Eimeria succeed to make mutation, this coccidiostat will lose its effect. But in natural coccidiostats contain several materials working on different points of the life cycle of the parasite. So actually resistance is immeasurable. You cannot imagine it. And because there is no development of resistance, you don't need to rotate. And if you don't need to rotate, and you use a natural product, so there is no withdrawal period. And of course, because it is natural product, you can use it in ecological or organic farming, in opposite to coccidiostats. Many of the coccidiostats can have restriction in certain species. This one cannot be used in ducks or in rabbits. Others are not allowed to be used in breeders because they affect the hatchability. Or others cannot be used in hot season because they increase the heat stress. Or they cannot be used in combination with certain antibiotics. So if you have the birds got infection, you are not allowed to use this antibiotic because you have this coccidiostat in the feed. All these restrictions are not present in natural coccidiostat like Herbolcox. Even the combination with vaccine, you have 2 approaches, either coccidiostat or vaccination, Eimeria vaccine. But here, with natural coccidiostains, like herbal cox, you can combine both. It is even recommended because you have synergetic effect. You increase the efficiency of your vaccine. You increase the protection level of your birds. Natural coccidiostains are safe, and they have more benefits for the bird. Such a product, herbal cox, has prebiotic effect. This means it supports the gut microflora. So this means better performance of the digestive tract, better immune system response to infections, better growth rate, and absorption. It is the future trend. Maybe now, maybe tomorrow, maybe in some few years, we have to change our policy to control the coccidia to natural products. The second example I selected for layers is the liver protector with natural choline, herbal liver, and we compare it with choline chloride. Choline chloride is a must. We don't have a big alternative in layers because of fatty liver, to prevent fatty liver. But if you have feed mill, choline chloride is very aggressive to the infrastructure, reduce the lifespan of your infrastructure. It absorbs water. Absorbing water means more chance for mycotoxins, means that microelements, micronutrients in your premix will be destroyed, like amino acids, but also it means it will make clumps so that the feed uniformity or feed processing is not ideal. Choline chloride, you find it only 50, 60, 70% in the market, no 100%, because it's aggressive and because of this water absorptive ability. The bioavailability of choline chloride is 30%. So you have 50% concentration, and out of this 30% bioavailability. In comparison to green choline, phosphatidylcholine, like in herbal liver, it is 100% concentration with 93% bioavailability. Okay, 30% bioavailability in choline chloride. This means 70% will not be absorbed. What is the fate? The bacteria will digest it and produce TMA. It is a toxic substance which will be transported to the liver, but it is responsible for the fishy odor. That's why some notice this bad odor in the eggs when they eat it. Because the bioavailability is 30%, you have to put a large volume of choline chloride, 2 kilos, 3 kilos. You want the choline part, but what about the chloride part? And you will add later NaCl, salt, for the formulation. You have a lot of chlorine in your formulation, and this will disturb the acid-base balance and the electrolyte balance in the body. You can avoid all these problems if you use phosphatidylcholine, the natural choline. Because the bioavailability is low in choline chloride, you have to put high volume. But if you use natural choline with 93% bioavailability, you have enough space. You add, in such case, herbal liver, you add only 300 grams per ton. This means you have large volume in your formulation. For other, it gives you flexibility. Another point, as I mentioned, it is safer. No TMA is produced. And this means less load for the liver. Anyway, the liver is already overloaded because of the fatty liver. And now comes toxins due to TMA, which extra load on the liver. You can avoid it with natural choline. In herbal liver, it is not only green choline. It is different herbs. Replacing choline chloride is only one benefit, but it has several benefits. It is immune stimulant, help to control mycotoxins, and it is a direct form to be used in the body. Phosphatidylcholine, I mean normal choline, will be metabolized in the body, at the end produce phosphatidylcholine. Here you give your birds phosphatidylcholine in the last form. Additional benefits of using herbal liver includes improve the FCR, increase the daily weight gain, increase the egg production, decrease the mortalities. It is a potent antioxidant, protects the cells 7 times more than silymarin, kidney and cardiac protectors, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral. I mean, it has many, many more benefits than choline chloride. Such products, if you use it, you can remove choline chloride completely from your formulation. You remove 1/3 of the methionine. You don't need kidney wash or liver wash. Thank you. It's in time. I have only 20 seconds left. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. I'd like to now call on Dr. Andrea Pizzabioca, who I hope I said that correctly, to come up to the lectern and deliver his presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Dr. Morgan. By the way, your spelling is much better than most of my colleagues at SCOV. So thank you for that. And thank you again to the committee for allowing me to present today. So as you can see from my first slide, I'm going to tell you something about how is it important to have the correct climate control when producing broiler breeders. As most of you know, different categories and ages of birds have a different sensitivity to climate, meaning that if the temperatures vary from their thermal comfort zone by a certain amount of degrees, will have different consequences on their behavior and performance. For sure, the day-old chicks, no matter if they are broilers, breeders, layers, are the most sensitive. And therefore, even a difference of temperature of 1-2 degrees can have a very important impact on their performance and behavior. While even if it's true that breeders, grown breeders, breeders in production, have a lower sensitivity, so they are more able to sustain a wider range of temperatures, that does not mean that they are not sensitive at all. So getting a bit more into detail in what I mean about being sensitive to temperatures, every living being, and in this specific case, breeders, have what is called a thermal comfort zone, so a range of temperatures inside which all the energy they get from the feed can be used for growth and for production, while the amount of this energy which is required for metabolism is very low. And the more we get away from this thermal neutral zone, we will have some consequences. So if the temperatures get higher than what is required by the birds, then we will have an energy deficit due to the fact that the birds suffer for the high temperature, and since also metabolizing the feed produces heat, they are going to reduce eating. And of course, this is going to have a negative impact on the production of eggs. As all living beings, also birds, when the temperatures get higher, they are going to drink more. And therefore, this is going to have an impact also on the speed that the nutrients have inside the intestinal tract. We have what we can call sort of a flushing of the intestinal tract, and therefore a reduced absorption of the nutrients, which are important, of course, for production of eggs. Then they are also going to use all the different ways that they have to get rid of the excessive heat, and in particular, they will start panting. Panting is a very energy-consuming way of getting rid of the excessive heat and requires energy that, again, is going to be diverted from production. And something that most of the times is underestimated is that also males are going to suffer from high temperature with, of course, when they start eating less, that will mean that their testicle size is going to decrease, and therefore their fertility will decrease. On the other hand, if the temperature gets lower than what is the comfort zone of the birds, then in this case, of course, the breeders are going to do whatever is possible for them to stay warm. The most simple way is that they are going to need more energy to keep the internal temperature, which they will get from the feed itself. So they're going to eat more to stay warm. So maybe we are not going to have a loss of production, but this production will be more expensive because part of the feed will not be used for it. Everybody who's been in breeders knows that a rule of thumb is that for every degree that the temperature in a house goes below 20, we need to give 1 gram more of feed to the breeders not to have any loss in productivity. And then in the end, again, also the males, many times underestimated, will have a negative impact, meaning they will need to eat more, so also their feed conversion will be increasing. Now, if we take a look at what is a yearly climate, what is the climate in a region of Ha'il, here in Saudi Arabia, where there are a lot of farms, we can see how during the summer we have very high temperatures. So in the farms which are in that region, the climate system must be able to remove the heat from the birds. While during the winter, the temperatures are going to be much lower. And so therefore, in that part of the year, our climate system must be able to provide the correct temperature and the correct air quality, but not without high airspeed to avoid chilling the birds. So if we look at the different type of ventilations which are available for our breeders, tunnel ventilation is the kind of system that is for sure the optimal for a hot season because we have a high airspeed. We also can have cooling, so we have water that can be used to reduce the temperature of the air. And in this case, so it will be easier to remove the heat from the birds. But we have to take into account that this will not make possible to have a uniform temperature in all of the house. While on the other hand, if we have a side mode ventilation system, in this case, we are going to have a uniform air distribution without airspeed, with what is called a kind of side ventilation that again allows to give the right temperature and environment without chilling the birds. So again, the tunnel mode is what is the perfect system for the hot part of the year or of the day. Even during the winter, there could be some days where the temperatures are so high that we need the tunnel. And the side mode is what is needed for the cool part of the year, again, to give the right environment. So, of course, that means that if we have only one of these systems, we will never be able all year round to give the right environment. So, for example, if we only have tunnel ventilation, yes, during the hot season or during the hot days, birds will be comfortable and productive. But during the winter, this will not be able, it will be possible, because in that period we need low airspeed and also the good temperatures, while tunnel ventilation will, if given at a high airspeed, will reduce the temperature felt by the birds due to the chill effect. But since the temperatures are low, most likely we will need to use it at a low airspeed, which will increase the difference of temperature between the front and the end of the house. So the birds, maybe the birds in the middle of the house will be comfortable, but the birds, especially at the two sides, will not be comfortable at all. On the other hand, if we have a system which only has the side ventilation, then yes, during the coldest part of the year, birds will be comfortable and productive. But during the hot season, due to the fact that this kind of ventilation will not allow us to give a high airspeed across the birds, which will help them remove the excessive heat, then of course the birds are going to suffer due to overheating. So the solution in the end is having a system which combines these two kinds of ventilations, what we call a combi-tunnel system, which is the system that we use in every environment, in every area of the world, where we have high fluctuations of the temperature between hot and cold, because this is going to allow us to give the perfect condition to the birds in each moment of the year. This does not mean that when dimensioning such a system, it can be done without the correct care, because since this system is including two different types of ventilation, it must be designed in a way that the switch between these two types of ventilation happens at the right moment. Because if, for example, the tunnel ventilation should switch too early, so in a season when it's still a bit too cold, then of course we are going to have a huge difference of temperature between front and the back of the house due to the low speeds that will be required. While on the other hand, if we switch to tunnel ventilation too late, and we keep side ventilation at too high temperatures, the birds again are going to suffer for it. Oops, I made something wrong. Okay, perfect, thank you very much. So this is just to show you very briefly how in many areas here in the Middle East, where people have still the old concept that is always hot, therefore tunnel ventilation is what is enough. Actually, what is needed is a system that combines tunnel ventilation and side ventilation to make sure to give to the birds the optimum climate all year round. If you have any questions, of course, later I can answer that, but if not, if there is no time enough, you can visit us at our stand or you can get directly in touch with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. And injecting some humor into your presentation with those very different chickens was it made me smile. Thank you. I'm now going to call on Dr. Marco Cortella to come up and give him his presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. The topic we're going to address is very current. I discussed all the matters at issue that we're going to see in a while this morning with a very important partner and customer. Unfortunately, there is so much to say that each page of this very short presentation could turn a future presentation. So maybe in the next years, we will deepen the matter. One of the underlying themes that I actually want to make clear from this quick overview is related to the parameters according to which a project must be developed, and that nothing is born as a standard. Nothing is standardized, since the variables that influence each project, from the smallest to the biggest one, are many, and each one has got a fundamental importance in relation to the correct design of a plant. So, to make it effective, efficient, but not only that. We are speaking about the future of agriculture. So every storage, in our vision, in my vision, should be efficient, energy saving, and should keep the quality of the grains stored constant over the days, months, years. I see some African friends here. They know that better than me. Over 40–50% of the grains is lost after the harvest, which is mind-blowing according to my point of view. And with a proper planning, with a proper listening to Mulmix, sorry to say, we can keep stored for years the grains with a constant and unchanged quality. The creation of a plant is a process, and in a very didactic way, we are now going to read the phases that this process is made up of. We'll start from the first phase, and it is probably the most important one. That is, we will start from the questions that we, as a company, producing, designing, manufacturing grain storage plants, must ask to our customers. and that the customer must ask themselves. So let's start from the needs. Why must this plant be made? What needs must we satisfy? The second phase is going to be the plant design itself. The third one is called balancing. Later we are going to deepen this important matter. And then phase 4 is the physical execution of the project. Lastly, we added phase 5, which is one relating to the focus on the materials that we should use in relation to the individual needs of the customer. Now it is about checking questions and needs. So, as we already said in few moments ago, the creation of a system of a storage plant arises from needs. And the only way to bring them fully to the surface is that process that has certainly been put in place with many of you in these days. Maybe you have visited our booth and we have been asking you a lot of questions, but the main ones are always the same. First of all, we should know what the products or products are and must be treated, and what are their characteristics, because each of them has got physical characteristics that are different from the others. So the products can be free-flowing, like wheat, which is the easiest, maybe cereal we can manage and we can handle. So now we are not going to speak about dirty wheat, full of dust, full of foreign bodies, or green wheat. So the first one is free-flowing. The second one is problematic. Problematic like soya beans. It is very, very abrasive. This is problematic. This is the reason. You can get in a very, very short time your storage plants destroyed because of the wrong soil management. Or they can be sticky, like flour or meals. So only by understanding the products to be managed, we can treat them right. Okay? So the second question is the tonnage to be conveyed and processed. So we have to know the quantity of wheat or cereals or legumes that you want to store. 1,000 tons, 10,000 tons, 100,000 tons, which are usually directly correlated to the capacity in terms of tons per hour of the mechanization. 10 tons per hour, 50 tons per hour, 1,000 tons per hour. You know, the difference is pretty big and wide, but different from the field silos and the port facilities, for example. Another important information is the number 3, so number of cycles, so is the rate of use of the plant. How many cycles, how many filling and emptying cycles are you gonna make for every year? So this is very important just to understand how robust should be the plant. Should it be a field or an industrial storage plant? Number 4, it's about the logistics, so intermodality. Will the raw materials be received only by truck and shipped on trucks, or we will involve also trains? Will we involve also ship, so delivering on ship, collecting products from the ship? The answer to these first 4 questions, so the kind of product, the tonnage, the cycles, and the logistics are of fundamental importance and allow us to frame the initial design of our plants quite good. Not to be forgotten, the 5th, which are the local regulations. So local regulation is the compliance to the local rules, and for example, in terms of safety, dust emission, maximum height of the structures, or maximum excavation that we can do when designing and then executing a storage plant. Plant design, wow. As I said, every page is, I could speak for hours, I'm sorry, but I have 2 minutes. Next year, I will finish it, okay? It's good. Yeah, no, there's too much to say, I'm sorry. So, plant design, but you can come to our booth later and we can deepen the matter. To a not experienced eye, the design of a storage plant seems entirely similar to another one. So nothing is the same, nothing is done by chance. So the layout, the arrangement of the silos, the delivery zone of the tower, everything is intended to grant efficiency, and it is designed to optimize the available resources, minimize the consumption, also the energetical consumption, maximize the transitability of the vehicles, and ensure smooth flows within the plant and the maximum number of simultaneous actions possible. The so-called simultaneity, okay? And then redundancy. The redundancy is something that I will not have the time also to speak about that later, about automation, but it's a concept that we will also see expressed in the field of plant automation, okay? Especially in industrial plants, we must avoid that the malfunction of a component or a breakdown of a mechanization may occur, causing the stop of a plant, and so enormous and damages in terms of time and money. I don't have time. As a consequence of the collection of the information from the customer and our expertise, we concretely arrive at the choice of the most evident components of the storage system, so the silos and the mechanization. Simply put, as far as silos are concerned, we should initially choose what type they should be. They should be flat bottom, conical bottom, and how many. So everything should be appropriately balanced according to the quantities we want to store, according to the cycles that we want to make every year, so that the grain will not remain for a too long period within its cell. Am I going to explode now? 1 minute more, okay, now. So we spoke about silos, but we could speak also about mechanization. So what are the mechanization? On top of silos, it's the means by which we move our products horizontally or vertically. So chain conveyors, belt conveyors differ according to the capacity in terms of tons per hour, the materials they must be composed or coated, and the thickness required or recommended to meet customers' needs in terms of durability and wear. I will go very fast now. There is a sniper. Next year, we're going to speak about the execution. So what is added to the steel part to make it working very, very smoothly. About the materials, nothing comes as a standard. So if we are in a port facility, we will have to choose the right materials and resistant to the environment, to the salty meat, for example. Automation, again, some words: redundancy, safety, reliability, and data log. So to save all the data, to prevent any malfunctioning. This is Mulmix, born in 1962, Italian company, I think one of the few in the world capable to design and manufacture all the components in a storage plant. And please visit us at our booth. Thank you so much. Bye.
Special announcement. The next session will be in Arabic language. حضورنا الكريم، اليوم يقدم برنامج المؤتمر دراسة حالة ذات أهمية في قطاع الدواجن. تعد تربية الدواجن مساهماً مهماً في الأمن الغذائي، حيث تحتل المملكة العربية السعودية المرتبة الثالثة عالمياً في استهلاك لحوم الدواجن ومنتجاتها. في نفس الوقت تعد المملكة أكبر منتج للدواجن في الشرق الأوسط. تدور دراسة الحالة التي سيقدمها الأستاذ عبد العزيز هشبل حول مستقبل صناعة إنتاج لحوم الدواجن، أفضل الممارسات في تربية الدواجن باستخدام التقنيات الحديثة. الأستاذ عبد العزيز هشبل هو عضو مجلس إدارة شركة دواجن أصول. أعلنت شركة دواجن أصول عن هدف إنتاج 500 ألف طائر بحلول نهاية عام 2025. حضورنا الكريم، دعونا نرحب على المسرح بالأستاذ عبد العزيز هشبل.
السلام عليكم، مساكم الله بالخير. نتكلم اليوم عن مستقبل صناعة إنتاج دجاج لحوم الدواجن في المملكة، أفضل الممارسات في تربية الدواجن بتطبيق أفضل التقنيات الحديثة. حجم إنتاج لحوم الدواجن بالمملكة وترتيبها عالميا. تحتل المملكة المرتبة 22 عالميا بالنسبة لإنتاج لحوم الدواجن، وتساهم المملكة بنسبة 1.1 من إجمالي إنتاج لحوم الدواجن عالميا. وصل إنتاج المملكة في عام 2023 إلى 1,150,000 طن سنويا. ووصل متوسط النمو المركب إلى 8% من إنتاج لحوم الدواجن بالعقد الأخير، ال10 سنوات الأخيرة، بتغير سنوي حوالي 2%. تضاعف الإنتاج من 525,000 طن عام 2014 إلى 1,150,000 طن عام 2023. تطور الإنتاج بالمملكة خلال عام 2024 أعلنت وزارة الزراعة والبيئة والمياه في سبتمبر الماضي بتحقيق قفزة وتسجل معدل إنتاج قياسي غير مسبوق للحوم الدواجن بالمملكة بزيادة 9% مقارنة بالفترة من عام 2023، حيث أنه في عام 2024 تم إنتاج 550,000 طن مقارنة ب511,000 طن في عام في الستة أشهر الأولى من عام 2023. يواجه إنتاج لحوم الدواجن بالمملكة عدة تحديات، من أهمها تقلبات أسعار الأعلاف، لكون أسعار الأعلاف تشكل الجزء الأكبر في تكلفة إنتاج الدجاج اللاحم، تقريبا ما يعادل 60 إلى 70% من تكلفة إنتاج الدجاج اللاحم تكون في الأعلاف، في إنتاج الأعلاف، استهلاك الأعلاف. التحدي الثاني زيادة تكاليف الطاقة والتحكم البيئي، تؤدي زيادة تكاليف الطاقة إلى رفع تكاليف التشغيل، ولا سيما الحاجة إلى التحكم في البرودة والحرارة لتوفير البيئة المناسبة لإنتاج الدجاج، مما يتطلب اعتماد مصادر طاقة بديلة وأفضل استغلال للطاقة. والتحدي الثالث المنافسة مع الواردات. تواجه صناعة دواجن اللحم في السعودية تحديات كبيرة من المنافسة مع الواردات، مما يتطلب تعزيز الإنتاج المحلي لضمان تلبية احتياج السوق، والتغلب على انتشار الأمراض. التحدي الرابع هو التغلب على انتشار الأمراض. تؤدي انتشار الأمراض والأوبئة لخسائر اقتصادية عالية في القطاع، وتقوم وزارة الزراعة عن طريق مركز وقاء بتطبيق معايير متقدمة للأمن الحيوي ومنع انتشار الأوبئة حفاظاً على الصناعة ومردودها الاقتصادي. التحدي الخامس تحدي التصدير للخارج. وتحدي التصدير يؤثر على قدرة المربين على الوصول إلى الأسواق الخارجية، حيث أن المنافسة مع الدول المصدرة الأخرى ذات التكاليف الأقل هو أكبر تحدي يواجه التوسع في التصدير. تحرص حكومة خادم الحرمين الشريفين على تطبيق أفضل الممارسات في تربية الدواجن، وتطبق أفضل الممارسات تربية الدواجن هي السبيل الأمثل لزيادة الإنتاج والجودة في الناتج المحلي، من خلال دعم صغار المربين وإرشادهم وتنظيم عملهم تحت مظلة تنفيذية واحدة لتطبيق أفضل الممارسات في التربية. يساهم في تعزيز الاقتصاد التشاركي والتعاوني، وهو الهدف الذي انبثقت من أجله الجمعية التعاونية لمنتجي الدواجن بمنطقة عسير اللي هي دجاج أصول، لتحقيق قصة نجاح كبيرة وفريدة في الشرق الأوسط من خلال زيادة الإنتاج وتقليل الهدر والمساهمة الإيجابية في الناتج المحلي، تطوير المربين للوصول إلى أعلى المعايير الإنتاجية، تلبية احتياج السوق المتزايدة وخلق فرص استثمارية لتنمية المجتمع. تعاونية عسير قامت على هذا الأساس من خلال دعم صغار المربين. الآن تخدم أكثر من 100 مربي من صغار المربين، بحيث وضعتهم تحت مظلة واحدة تخدمهم في الإنتاج، في توفير الصوص، في توفير الأعلاف، في توفير كل المتطلبات لهم. تحرص حكومة خادم الحرمين على تطبيق التكنولوجيا الحديثة في تربية الدواجن من خلال توفير أنظمة الرصد الصحي، لكونها تساعد أنظمة الرصد الصحي المتقدمة في تتبع الحالات الصحية للقطيع بشكل مستمر باستخدام أجهزة استشعار وتقنيات الإنترنت. هذا يساهم للمزارعين باتخاذ القرار الصحيح في الوقت الصحيح في وقت مبكر لتحسين أداء القطيع. وتقنية الإضاءة الذكية، تستخدم تقنية الإضاءة الذكية لتوفير مستويات الضوء المثالي للقطيع، مما يعزز من سلوكه الطبيعي ويؤثر بشكل إيجابي على صحته وإنتاجه. أنظمة التهوية الذكية أيضا تساعد التهوية الذكية للحفاظ على بيئة مريحة للقطيع، مما يؤثر بشكل إيجابي على نموه وإنتاجه. وتعتمد هذه الأنظمة على تقنيات الاستشعار لضبط درجات الحرارة والرطوبة بشكل تلقائي داخل حظائر القطيع. تكنولوجيا الذكاء الاصطناعي تشجع الحكومة على استخدام التقنيات الحديثة مثل تقنيات الذكاء الاصطناعي والروبوتات لتحسين عملية الإنتاج والتغذية. ومن ذلك انطلقت اتفاقية تطوير مشروع تطبيق الذكاء الاصطناعي في تربية الدواجن بالجمعية التعاونية لمنتجي الدواجن بمنطقة عسير دجاج أصول مع شركاء التحول الرقمي شركة لاريب بدعم من البرنامج الوطني لتنمية تقنية المعلومات. والمشروع بمراحل متقدمة في التطوير، والآن مرحلة التطبيق والقياس، وسيتم الإعلان عن نتائج قريبا، والتي من المتوقع أن تكون نقلة نوعية في تطبيق التكنولوجيا الحديثة بتربية الدواجن. تهدف حكومة المملكة العربية السعودية إلى الاكتفاء الذاتي من لحوم الدواجن بحلول عام 2030 في تعزيز نسبة الناتج المحلي من الدجاج اللاحم المملكة العربية السعودية. وشهدت ذلك تطورا ملحوظا في السنوات الأخيرة، وذلك في إطار خطط المملكة لتحقيق الأمن الغذائي والاكتفاء الذاتي. حتى عام 2023 وصلت نسبة الاكتفاء الذاتي أكثر من 60% من احتياج السوق المحلي من الدجاج اللاحم، وتسعى الحكومة إلى رفع هذه النسبة إلى 100% بحلول 2030 عبر زيادة الإنتاج المحلي وتبني التقنيات الحديثة من خلال دعم حكومة خادم الحرمين الشريفين، من خلال صندوق التنمية الزراعي، من خلال الإعانات الزراعية ودعم الوزارة للصغار المربين وكبار المربين. مع زيادة الطلب على البروتين، يمكن لقطاع الدواجن أن يلعب دورا كبيرا محوريا في تلبية احتياجات السوق المحلي من خلال تشجيع الاستثمار في قطاع الدواجن، وسيساهم في تطويره ويعزز من القدرة التنافسية في السوق الإقليمي والدولي. ومعتمدا على ذلك على الدعم الحكومي لتحقيق الاكتفاء الذاتي. التغير المناخي يمثل تحديا كبيرا لإنتاج الدواجن، مما يتطلب استراتيجيات جديدة للتكيف مع الظروف المتغيرة من خلال سلاسل الإمداد وتعزيز الصناعة. ورؤية المملكة لتحسين سلاسل الإمداد يعتبر ضمان للوصول بالمنتجات الطازجة للأسواق في الوقت المناسب، مما يساهم في تعزيز رضا العملاء. في النهاية نشكر حسن استماعكم. إذا أحد له سؤال من خلال خصوص إنتاج الدجاج اللاحم في المملكة. تفضل.
يعطيكم العافية. أول شيء كل الثناء والتقدير لوزارة البيئة والمياه والزراعة لتقديمها لهذا الحدث النشر المتقن بكل تفاصيله والشركات المنظمة. أنا كان عندي سؤال، كيف تستخدموا التقنية تقنية الAI والذكاء الاصطناعي في العمليات اللي تتم في المصنع؟ رقم واحد. رقم اثنين، بالنسبة للدجاج البياض، هل يتم الاستفادة من مثلا تصدير المنتجات الأرجل يعني خارج المملكة، أو في عمليات معينة لإدارة تدوير الموضوع هذا حتى يتم فعلا استثمار العملية بطريقة محوكمة ومنظمة وفق الإجراءات النظامية في المملكة والجهات الرقابية؟
نعم، بالنسبة لسؤالك الأول عن استخدام الذكاء الاصطناعي، احنا في تجربة انطلقت لسه يعني في مراحلها النهائية الآن، هي في مرحلة التطبيق والقياس مع شركة لاريب ومع المركز البرنامج الوطني لتنمية وتقنية المعلومات، ولسه لم ترى النور حتى الآن، لكن هي في مراحلها الأخيرة. بالنسبة اللي تكلم عنه بخصوص الدجاج البياض، الدجاج اللحم والبياض اللي هي الأشياء الأرجل والأشياء، في لها تقنية لتحويلها إلى بروتين بودر، وتصدر بعضها وبعضها تستهلك داخل المملكة. شكرا يا جماعة، السلام عليكم.
Thank you very much for that very interesting session. And we're back now with a panel on new trends in mills and feeding. And I would invite the speakers to come up to the stage and please take a seat next to your name, and then we will start the session. Thank you. If you would like a translation of the session, you can use the QR code. We'll put up the big QR code in a minute. And you can download the text of the session in 57 different languages, and that might make it a little easier for you to feel part of the proceedings. Thank you. And I'm going to move over. I'm just looking for my notes for the session. Thank you, Amjad. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm going to ask you to lean quite closely to the microphones when you are speaking, if you don't mind. So we are live streaming the session to the Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture's channel on Twitter. So if anybody wants to watch the live stream, it's at agri_ext on the live stream. For the future, if you ever want to tune into any of the ministry's live streams, that's where you go, at agri_ext. And there's a lot of very interesting content on there all year round. Okay, let's kick off our session on mills and feed, shall we? Before we start, can we just go down the row and ask you to introduce yourself and just give us a little introduction about what you do. Dr. Franz.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much, Mr. Morgan. Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Ferdinand Schmidt. I'm from Germany. I'm an agricultural engineer and livestock consultant, and obtained my education in Germany and in the United States. I have been working as a livestock consultant on setting up identification and traceability systems in various countries in the world. And since 3 years, I'm managing director of Casely International. This is a company from Germany, even though it sounds a little bit British, but we are the leading manufacturer of animal identification devices in Germany, in a lot of European countries, and with growing market shares also in countries abroad. And our portfolio ranges from visual identification to electronic identification, and also to tissue sampling devices for collecting ear tissue for disease testing and genomic testing. Thank you.
And Next, we have Engineer Loe, please.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Luay Al-Abyad. I'm a Lebanese agricultural engineer. I've done my studies in UK and then worked in the US for a number of years before going back to Lebanon, managing dairy farms. I've been in Saudi Arabia for the last 14 years, working for Artat Trading Company. My main passion is in animal nutrition, and my personal commitment is to support the local farms. See myself as a man of science, and I have a commitment to provide local support and advisory to the local farms. Artat as a company started 21 years ago, and now we are over 100 employees with our headquarters in Riyadh and HQs and our warehouses. We also have offices in Dubai and Al Ain. We have sales reps that are mostly postgrads in veterinary and agriculture engineers as well. And we pride ourselves in working with top-tier companies from the US and Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you for having me first, and looking forward to have a fruitful discussion today, inshallah. My name is Ahmed Hijazi. I'm transformational leader and board member in agri-food and animal nutrition industry. 20 years plus experience in GCC countries, special focus in Saudi and UAE. Successfully, I have been transformed businesses in the companies previously. I worked with the Tanmiya Food Group in Saudi Arabia, and then Al Ghurair Foods in UAE, and recently in Modern Mills as a vice president for feed business. I have bachelor degree in agri-science from Jordan University of Science and Technology, and MBA from University of Leicester. Modern Mills is a flour milling company. We are milling around 1.5 million tons of wheat and producing 400,000 metric tons of animal feed. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Mr. Shug couldn't join us today, but we're going to have a great panel anyway, so let's continue. Mr. Hijazi, I'm going to come to you first. So, one of the mantras of your company is building the past and the future of flour production. So can you just say, what does that mean exactly? You know, how does that link together, and what is that offer to the Saudi market?
Yeah, you know, MMC is playing a vital role in food security in the country. And we are serving our customers actually through our 3 sites from North Saudi Arabia and South Saudi Arabia, and most importantly Western region, where we are serving the consumer demand there, especially for the Umrah and Hajj visitors. And this is also having a growing demand year on year. And also to supply this demand, we invested on increasing capacity in flour. We have additional flour mill in Jeddah area with capacity around additional capacity 1,200 tons per day. This is to serve the customers, and we are actually not. We are aiming to be a solution provider. Actually, this is our future. So we are not planning to serve the market with the only normal flour portfolio, but also we are investing in our R&D capabilities and innovation to produce the to match the the new lifestyle and customer needs. So recently, we produced a new product like cake mixes, gluten-free flour, and special flour serving the horeca and this category. Actually, hotels and restaurants in our area, especially in the Western area, are one of the biggest channels. At the end, our aim is to provide solution to the customers, not only flour, as I said. It's a full solution that we are catering their needs and their innovation ambition, actually.
So on the cake mixes, for example, is that a white labeling operation, or is that an actual retail product with a brand and a particular...
Yes, our brand is Modern Mills, and we have it as a brand on shelf now. You can see it in all key account retail in Saudi Arabia now. So we have the cake mixes like pancake and chocolate cake and vanilla cake. It's in the market now.
Okay, I'll move to Tamimi tomorrow to get some then.
Great.
I'll try it myself. No, I like cooking, so that's why they invite me up to the stage. You know, agriculture's something I'm very interested in.
Great. So we will add a new customer to our portfolio.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. El Obeid, I'm going to come to you next, and you're an expert in animal nutrition, and the animal feeding and the health and the food security. How does that link to mills and feed exactly? What are the trends there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we see it is animal health, animal feeding, animal health, and food security are all interconnected. And we see that providing balanced rations and proper nutrition is part of providing, building the immunity of the animal. And with having better immunity, we know that animals would be able to reproduce, grow, and provide profitability for the farmer in terms of better meat quality, better meat production, milk or egg. Recently, we've seen in many places around the world, also in the Middle East, some zoonotic diseases also coming from stressed animals that have been reared, let's say, under malnutrition. And this has resulted in avian flu in like Asia. We've had foot and mouth diseases in Jordan, Saudi, even Qatar. We've lost an excess of 20,000 cows. That has been the disasters. This happened during Ramadan. So we base all of that on weaker immunity and imbalanced rations. In addition, we find that if we are aiming to, at any time, to reach proper food security, we have to invest in proper nutrition. And this sequence of having proper nutrition cascading over well and strong immunity is going to provide food security for the community.
And in terms of proper nutrition, how do you get involved? I'm sure with commercial farming, you know, that kind of pitch to them is a lot easier.
Sure.
What about smaller rural farms? I mean, how do you deal with that side of things?
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you for the question. So we believe for large dairies, their number of animals is as important as 5 cows for a small farmer. So this is his, all of his well-being and his business model. We try to work on that from the feed mill. So we try to work from the feed mill to put our products in, and from the farm level, from the farmer level, to optimize his feeding practices, and even try to work with his workers. Recently, we've done our own calf academy, where we brought in all the labor of those farms, and we've done presentations in Urdu and Hindi to make sure that they are aware and mindful of the best processes and practices used to provide feed for the animals.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. Franz, over to you next. KZ International, known to be a plastic manufacturer. So what are you doing up on stage with us today?
Yeah, in fact, we are relatively new here in the Saudi Arabian market because we see that animal identification becomes more important for the livestock sector. But the story of Casely International started 35, 40 years ago when we were changing in Germany from metal clips to plastic ear tags. And then the company started first with some imports from Britain, and out of that they started an own production in Germany and fulfilling the market requirements at that time. And out of that development, the company became market leader in Germany and abroad. And how does it work? I think it were innovations in both sides, in the production cycle and also in the products. And I think the production cycle, we have learned a lot from the German automotive industry, really how to use automatization and robot production processes in the production of the ear tags, which you think is a little bit outstanding, but it is exactly because we need to produce a product in a very high frequency with a very high quality expectation. And that is the same like we also used to have in the automotive industry. The other side is the optimization of the product. And you see, if you would see our different products lines and the layouts, and you see that there are a lot of specifics in the product, what we have optimized in the last 20 years. The final thing is to make the product as comfortable for the animal, to have a high retention rate, so that we in the end have a good product where the livestock farmer and the animal can go forward with.
So you're looking at less stress on the animals, and that's where
yes. I think our products are the lightest in the market. We have very light products, very flexible, very, I would say, from the haptic, very easy to handle products for the animal and for the farmer, and I think that is an advantage what is paying back also then when it comes to the performance of the ear tag retention.
And you're new to Saudi Arabia. Is this your kind of entree into the market here?
It's my second visit here to Saudi Arabia. We are involved in a pilot project in Alula County with the Royal Commission, but we have also now the intention to serve more farms here, regular farms. And of course, we have also the idea that once the Saudi Arabian government is going to have a national system for identification and traceability for cattle and for sheep and goats, that we also can become a supplier in that system.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to stay with you, Dr. France, okay. And the tags themselves. How are you going to penetrate the Saudi market? So you're with Alula at the moment. How are you going to reach the farmers and kind of, well, obviously this is one of your vehicles to do that. What are your other plans?
We have really some plans, and that is, I think, the philosophy of Casely. We are a family-owned company, and we have the intention to work with partners abroad. And it is also important because I think that we also well understand that the final part of the manufacturing process, it means the customization of the product, the printing, the programming, we prefer to do it in the partner country and not at our plant in Germany. And that means that we need to have a partner who is capable to do that, to have the facilities and also to the readiness to combine the whole process of order management, but also the customization, the exchange of data with the competent authority, with the partners, with the farms. So this is a complex process, and of course we are now in the process of finding partners to do that here in Saudi Arabia. And I think that will be the next step we are looking for. And once that is established, then of course we understand that the commercial process of supplying tags will be done directly here in Saudi Arabia. So that should be going very easily. Okay, thank you. So any potential partners out there, here's your guy, okay? Thank you.
Engineer Loy, new trends in animal nutrition. So obviously Saudi Arabia is accelerating its transformation in all sorts of technologies, and I'm not just talking about ones and zeros, you know, nutritional innovation and technology, genome engineering, all those kinds of things are very much part of what's happening in Saudi. How are you contributing to that with ARTAT Enterprises?
Sure. So one of the things we've done over the last 15 years is we've expanded our portfolio to include all the, let's say, possible feed additives that can enhance nutrition and can enhance the performance of the animal. In addition, ARTAT has focused on 4 main areas. We've partnered with one of the top labs in the US. So over the last 10 years, we've done over 6,000 analysis of feeds in Saudi. coming from farmers, feed mills, forage suppliers. This has allowed nutritionists to better and more precisely formulate their rations, to get the analysis of these feeds, and at the same time match the requirements of the animals. Step 2 was to take this further and provide all the large dairies in Saudi and Emirates, basically, and Qatar even, with a feed management software. So now we are able to monitor closely what the dairy cows are eating, how the feed is being mixed, for what duration, and to which animals and to which stage of lactation this feed is being supplied. Then we have provided feeding management softwares feeding formulation softwares, even for the dairy, the beef, the small ruminants, as well as poultry. So we are able to find the algorithms and to use the advanced formulations to formulate the feed for the animals. Lastly, we are working with a European company to provide a sheep pellet, which is basically a long fiber, a 10 millimeter fiber put into an 8 millimeter pellet. So we are able to cover the future needs of the small animals in Saudi. As we know, Saudi Arabia has decided to stop importing alfalfa seeds. This will result in having less and less local forages produced. The way we think could be the solution is that if we can get pellets that have the vitamins, minerals, the protein, the energy, everything devised into one particular pellet. And this way we can at least compensate for the huge area that Saudi has by having better supply chain. Along with that, we have specific feed additives like postbiotics, gut enhancers, and so on and so forth that can improve the performance of the animal.
Thank you. Mr. Hijazi, your feed solutions are modern mills for poultry and livestock. Can you tell us a bit more about the different types of feeds that you're providing?
Sure, before that, but I think we need to sit with Luay after this discussion. We have a lot of he said a lot of inspiring things. Maybe we can cooperate.
Pleasure.
Yeah, so as I said, our main objective is to fulfill the food security in Saudi Arabia. And animal feed is playing big part on that as well, in addition to the flour. Because the farmers are producing the protein and which is very it's for the food security. So from the day one, Modern Mills decided to make the animal feed as a second pillar for the business, and to leverage our valuable production assets, which is we have in the company, and leveraging also the experience from the shareholder, which is coming from Al Ghurair, and also taking the advantage of a favorable market environment. It's growing at least 4% CAGR every year. Then we started to develop our research and development center. Because just to give you a little bit of background, the company has been acquired 3 years ago, and where we started the transformation for this segment. So we established our R&D center, developing all of the specific product for poultry and livestock feed, based on starting from selecting the right raw material and the best quality raw material. We have a strict quality control systems where we make sure that all the quality of raw material we are using is in the high quality and affordable prices as well. We also make sure that this feed processing and mixing is going the right process to have the right product at the end. And as Luay said, that we are definitely using the least cost formulation system, which is to make sure that we are supplying the animal with their recommended daily allowances in terms of nutrition, while we having the best price and best cost, because feed cost is around 70% of the farmer total cost. So it's very important that we have the feed at the affordable price with the right quality. Not only this, for all species, we're also providing technical support to our customers, actually, in poultry and livestock. In livestock, we do like campaigns to educate the farmers of the best practice in terms of feeding their animals and how they can utilize the feed to get the right weight. In addition to that, also for poultry, we work closely with the poultry farms to make sure that they're having the right quality, and we do also trials with them. And to give you example, like a broiler feed, we make sure that this feed is giving the customer the right feed conversion ratio, we call it, which is the FCR. So it's consume the less amount of feed with bigger weight for their chicken. So this is like the return on investment for their farms. So we make sure that our customers and the farmers, they are gaining benefits out of that. And successfully we managed to have a really good result with our customers and supplying them with such wide range of products.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to come back to Dr. Frans. And in the tagging industry, the smart tags, how do you predict the future of these tags? I mean, obviously you get data sets through the cows and things like that. Where do you think that's going to go next? Will that IoT integrate with AI and generative AI and things like that? Tell us about what some of your, I'm not asking for secrets, I'm just asking you for, how about your crystal ball for the future of tags?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Morgan, for that question. I think there is, of course, in my opinion, a bright future for the sensor-based tags. I have to say that our company has been working on this already, but we have not a product in our portfolio so far. But I would maybe, in a broader way, describe a little bit also our, at least, philosophy when we look to smart tags, because we have you see the tissue sampling tag, which is allows you to take a tissue sample when you are applying an ear tag. You could maybe say, yes, why is that smart? But there are so many use cases behind that, and we see a booming opportunities now in the market. It can be used, of course, for disease testing. We are using it for BVD testing in a lot of European countries. We can use it also for parentage verification, for genomic testing. We can also use it for animal theft. We have applied it in a few countries for that purpose, that you take a tissue sample when you are applying the ear tag. You see the sample in your storage, and once an animal is stolen and you maybe find the meat later on the market, you can compare it with your sample in your storage, and you can trace back your animal, and you can somehow have a court reliable proof that the animal has been stolen by this theft. So this is also smart, in my opinion, to give you an example like this. And we at the moment see that we have to combine the sensor-based technology with, I would say, with the information we can gain from tissue sampling, for example. And I think the combination of the different opportunities, I think that's the key for the future.
So, for example, the cow's too hot, the cow's too cold, all those kinds of
yes,
scenarios.
I think that the sensors which are currently on the market, of course, they differ a little bit in the way how they are attached to the animal. It can be done at the ear. It can be done also with a device what is put to the stomach of the animal. So there are different, I would say, approaches to that. We are also evaluating at the moment the different opportunities, what will be the best combination in the future. In the end, we always have to look also to the weight of the device and in what way it is affecting the animal itself. Of course, temperature I can measure better in the stomach than at the ear. But there are other parameters I can also measure very well at the ear, so that is something what still needs to be also assessed and to go for the right strategy.
Great, thank you. Okay, Engineer Lowe, I'm going to ask you about, as the population increases, challenges related to animal nutrition and productivity. So where's the grain going? Is it going to us? Is it going to the animal? I mean, how are we going to ensure that we've still got a food supply? We've got the flour coming from modern mills, but you've also got the feeds going to the animals that you need for the... How's that going to work?
Right. So, with the world's future looking ahead, we're seeing the population going from around 8 billion today to more than 10 billion in the next 30 years. That's an increase of 25%. This will call for less arable land production and will put us on more pressure to produce food more efficiently. With ruminants, we are reaching out to, we are using byproducts for the cows. One thing Artat has done in the last 2 years is pushing dairy farms to use byproducts from the Saudi industry for a number of parameters. We've fed over 2,000 cows on potato starch and potato byproducts instead of using corn for 2 years with no issues, same production. We can do the same with other byproducts like soya hulls, sesame peels and stuff. What we're seeing around the world is there's also a shift in the food behavior. We've seen an increase in the demand in the poorer countries, and we've also seen a need for a higher plane of nutrition and a higher need for luxurious feeds. We're also seeing a change in the diet behavior from countries feeding on rice to more beef and dairy products. All of this accounts for, puts pressure on us as producers to push the animals genetically, and also with science to push the animals to produce more. We're also seeing that on agricultural sustainability, there has been a lot of pressure in the land use. MEWA has done incredibly well in terms of encouraging farmers to have less soil degradation and to promote no-till farming. This will preserve the soil and will allow the producers to produce even further. We're seeing a huge also concern on water scarcity. MEWA also has decided to ban the import of alfalfa seeds in the summer and pushing the farmers to produce more winter forages, thus preserving water as much as possible. And then we're seeing this huge climate change. We've seen last year floods in places like Greece, where we had a huge impact on the cottonseed production. This year we've seen a huge drop in sunflower meal, reaching up to 80% in Ukraine and Romania. All of this climate change is affecting the way the way people are farming, and all of this is unpredictable. In conclusion, I would say global changes warrants global cooperation. The only way we can get around this is we can have countries around the world cooperate to at least weather these challenges.
Cooperation is key.
Absolutely.
And lastly, Mr. Jazzy, how do you predict the future development of animal feeds to suit the Saudi market and its conditions?
The future is bright. As per the studies, market studies, the animal feed market in KSA is expected to grow at 4% CAGR until 2023. And this is mainly driven mainly of the poultry feed. Given the government support and vision to reach 80% self-sufficiency in local poultry production in Saudi Arabia. And actually on Monday, the ministry announced that they reach up to 70% local self-sufficiency. So, and the aim is to reach 85%, I think, in 2026. So, giving this vision and what's happening in the industry and growing their capacity, so the market of poultry is expected to grow around 7% CAGR until 2023. So the livestock feed will not be as fast as poultry feed due to these circumstances. And in modern mills, we managed to reach number one in terms of production volumes and value among the other milling companies We are the biggest producers for animal feed to support this vision, actually. And we managed to reserve our position as a number 4 as in terms of market share among the other feed companies in KSA. So yeah, as I said, it's a growing market, favorable environment, and there is plenty of feed mills in the country. But it's as Luay said, there is a lot of touches and some know-how they need to be tackled to be able to serve this category. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to draw this panel to a close and say, please give a round of applause to our panelists here. Thank you very much. And if you could just join in the middle here for a photograph, and then we'll move on to the next session. So if you...